Oh, first one that comes to mind, I guess John Coltrane Quartet, the record called John Coltrane Quartet Plays, that record, which is, it's the one that has, there are two tracks on there that are incredibly influential to me and just like great versions of Coltrane's band playing, which is Chim Chim Cheree and a tune called Brasilia. So just talk now.
Yeah, Chim Chim Cheree's a soprano sax.
Soprano sax, 3/4. You know, it's kind of like followed in the mold that he started with My Favorite Things, but just take it and just, you know, take it to its like highest degree. You know, that to me is just a great version of like the epitome of where jazz kind of went in the 60s and where Coltrane's music, I think when Coltrane's music reached its real maturity, just because it's a modal tune that basically has no boundaries, no harmonic boundaries. So it's in a key, I think it's in D minor or something, but you know, rhythmically and harmonically, you know, the band is just in such incredible sync. To me, it's one of the greatest versions of his soprano playing at that time. And the other tune on that record that I really love is this tune called Brasilia, which he actually recorded. I just got this Village Vanguard box set, and there's a version of Brasilia on there from 1961 or 62. And then they re-recorded it. I think this record was recorded in '65, which is one of my favorite periods of Train. And it's, to me, that tune is one of the breaches, or one of the fusions of when Coltrane was playing music that was in time and swinging and 4/4, and to where he went from that to playing free music, because that tune contains it all. And you know, it starts off free, it goes into a time thing. McCoy Tyner plays a solo in time. Coltrane comes back in, playing in time. But somewhere towards the second half of Coltrane's second solo, you know, it's funny because I play that for people. You can hear the time through the whole thing, but Elvin is no longer playing Tang Tang Tang. They're just superimposing phrases upon phrases, and it builds and builds and builds. It doesn't sound like there's any time there, but if you really listen, there is time there. And then when they come out of it and they come back into the time thing, to me it's one of the greatest things on record. So I mean that record is a real standout for me.
Yeah. You mentioned before that like your dad, you were sick and your dad said, "What do you want?" And the newest John Coltrane record, and he brought home A Love Supreme.
Yeah.
Were your ears ready for that? I mean, when you first heard that, how old were you at that point?
I was 13 or 14. Were my ears ready for it? I had been listening previous to that. I think the only Coltrane record I had was, because it was in my earliest days, and I had just heard about this guy named John Coltrane, and my father had brought home, because he didn't know anything about jazz, so he worked in Manhattan, and he would stop in a jazz record store and pick up records for me.
What did your dad do?
He was in the textile business in Manhattan. And the first record he got me for Christmas was a record called Settin' the Pace, which was one of the Prestige records, which to me is still one of the greatest records Train ever recorded. Of that period, I think it's the best. It has Little Melanie on it, and Rise and Shine, and I forget what other tunes are on there. I See Your Face Before Me. It's such a great version of Coltrane's progression at that time.
Yeah.
It's just great, you know. Second record, let's see, what's something I listened to? I've been listening to. Bela Bartok. Violin concerto.
Is that are you a Bartok fan or that particular piece?
I'm a big Bartok fan, but that to me is one of his one of his greatest works. It's one of his least, it's one of his more out works, but still is very rooted in tonality, much more than some of his violin sonatas.